Have you ever wondered why a man dreams of the woman he betrayed? Why her face visits him long after her body has vanished from his reach? Why her silence haunts him louder than her tears ever did? He does not dream of her because he loves her. He dreams because his psyche is starving. What he destroyed was not her. It was the mirror that once made him feel divine. When she left, the illusion shattered, and the fragments of his own shadow began to speak his name in the dark. A man betrays a woman not out of strength but fear. Fear of losing control over what makes him feel powerful. Fear of being seen too deeply. He wants devotion but cannot stand reflection. So he betrays the very thing that would have completed him. He thinks he escaped. He does not realize he has exiled himself from his own soul. For in Jung's language, she was his anima, the feminine current within him that connects the mortal man to the divine. To betray her is to sever that connection. And when the bond is cut, the unconscious begins to bleed. He dreams of her because dreams are the theater of unfinished rituals. The betrayal was never closure, it was avoidance. She became the embodiment of his guilt, the phantom of what he could not integrate. In his sleep, she returns not as a woman but as an archetype. Sometimes as the siren, beautiful and unreachable. Sometimes as the witch, cold and knowing. Sometimes as the queen, silent, regal, gone. Her presence in his mind is punishment, but also invitation. The psyche always demands balance. And where there is suppression, there will be haunting. She too once burned in her own illusion. The feminine wound runs differently. It is the wound of abandonment. She believed love was earned through sacrifice, patience, softness. She mistook endurance for power, and so she begged. She pleaded for understanding from a man who could not even face himself. Her tears were not weakness, they were prayers to be seen. But he looked away. The betrayal was not just infidelity, it was dismissal. It told her in silence that her depth was too much. Yet there is a moment when something inside a woman fractures and the begging stops. It is not healing, it is awakening. She realizes the one she was pleading with was never capable of answering. His world was built on ego maintenance, not intimacy. And when she finally stops explaining, when she finally stops hoping, the power shifts. He senses it like an animal senses a storm. The air changes. Her energy withdraws, and suddenly his reflection disappears. That is when the haunting begins. Cannot name it. He dreams of her voice, her hair, her eyes. But what truly torments him is the silence, the absence of her validation. The ego needs witnesses. Without her gaze, he becomes invisible to himself. Jung said the anima carries the soul image of man. She represents his capacity for relatedness, emotion, creativity. When he betrays her, he kills those parts in himself. So he dreams not of her but of what she represented, the lost bridge between his shadow and his potential. She, on the other hand, undergoes alchemy. Pain turns to perception, desperation turns to distance. This is how the dark feminine is born, not through vengeance but through withdrawal. The witch, the siren, the shadow queen, they all emerge when the naive woman dies. Her silence is not a wound anymore. It is a weapon. He called her cold. But coldness is simply warmth refined into clarity. She no longer explains, no longer defends. She watches him drown in the waters he once mocked. In his dreams, she appears untouched, unreachable. Her absence presses against his consciousness like a blade. Every attempt to recreate her fails because what he lost was not physical, it was archetypal. She became myth the moment she walked away. Her silence became his punishment, her indifference his mirror. You have seen this before. The man who betrayed you starts circling your orbit again, not in words but in restless signs, watching your stories, asking about you, sending half-hearted apologies wrapped in nostalgia. Do not confuse this for love. It is hunger. He is not drawn to you. He is drawn to the void his betrayal created. Do not feed it. Because the moment you speak, the spell breaks. The dark feminine holds power through restraint, through distance, through the refusal to explain what he already knows. The universe has already delivered the message. His punishment is remembrance. Let him dream. Let him crave. Let him wander through every imitation, every new distraction, every hollow body, until he realizes it was never about you. It was about what you awakened in him. And that awakening came too soon for his undeveloped soul. Tonight, sit in silence. Do not justify, do not reach. Let someone feel your absence like a funeral. In your detachment, you become myth. In your silence, you become sacred. When a man betrays a woman who once loved him, something irreversible occurs, not between them but within him. The betrayal plants a seed of dissonance. It grows quietly beneath his pride, winding through his thoughts until it flowers in his dreams. He begins to see her face in strangers, to hear her laughter in passing echoes, to feel her ghost in moments that should feel empty. But emptiness no longer comforts him. It accuses him. It whispers what he denied, that he destroyed what once made him feel alive. The male ego is built on control. He must believe he holds power over meaning itself. Betrayal for him is not just indulgence. It is proof that he can dominate what once challenged him emotionally. He mistakes cruelty for independence. But every act of betrayal is a confession. I am terrified of being insignificant. He betrays to feel free, yet finds himself enslaved by memory. The very woman he diminished becomes the haunting symbol of what he cannot conquer, the one who escaped his narrative. She too once lived under illusion. Her wound was ancient, the inheritance of countless generations of silenced women, the need to be chosen, the fear of being too much, the belief that love is a negotiation, not a recognition. She learned to dim her brilliance, to soften her voice, to make herself smaller so that he would not feel threatened. It was not submission, it was survival, but survival is not living. There came a day when she saw the truth, that his attention was never love, only possession. His praise was currency, not connection. Every time she gave more, he valued her less. And when she finally refused to play his game, he panicked. His ego could not survive without her admiration. So he betrayed her, hoping to reassert dominance, to prove to himself that he was still the one in control. But betrayal is a ritual with two deaths. The first is hers, the second is his. For the woman, betrayal kills the illusion. The mask of romantic salvation falls away. The archetype she once projected, the hero, the savior, the strong one, dissolves, revealing the frightened child behind his armor. For the man, betrayal kills the mirror. The reflection that once told him he was powerful disappears, and he must face the void of his own mediocrity. This is why he dreams. His unconscious drags him back to the scene of the crime, not to relive pleasure, but to confront guilt. In Jungian language, this is the confrontation with the shadow. The woman he betrayed becomes the embodiment of everything he refuses to see in himself: vulnerability, dependency, shame. When he dreams of her, he is not seeing her soul. He is staring into his own, but he does not understand. So he wakes up uneasy, blaming nostalgia, calling it closure, pretending he has moved on. Yet the dream returns, relentless. The psyche does not forget what consciousness denies. Meanwhile, she transforms. Her silence becomes alchemy. Pain refines her into precision. Emotion becomes intellect. She no longer chases meaning in his chaos, she becomes the meaning. The dark feminine archetype begins to rise. The witch who knows too much, the siren who no longer sings, the queen who does not kneel. She no longer bleeds from the wound, she wields it. Her absence becomes magnetic. Her indifference becomes divine. He feels it. Even if she never speaks again, he feels the shift. The man who once believed she was powerless now senses her strength like cold air after a storm. He may not admit it, but every fiber of him knows she has crossed into a realm he cannot enter. He will try to provoke her, test her, lure her back into the old emotional battlefield. But she no longer fights. She does not need to. The silence she offers is not emptiness, it is judgment. When a woman withdraws her energy completely, a man's reality begins to unravel. Without her emotional resonance, his world becomes flat, sterile, without dimension. The anima, his inner feminine, begins to decay. He may chase new women, but they are copies without depth, projections without soul. He confuses lust for life, distraction for healing. But the dream persists, whispering the truth he fears most. He did not lose her body. He lost access to his own soul. You, listening to this now, understand what that means. There is nothing to explain, nothing to fix. The universe already executed justice the moment you walked away. His punishment is to remember. His sentence is longing. Your liberation is silence. So do not answer. Do not soften. Do not let pity undo your ascension. Detachment is not cruelty, it is clarity. When you become untouchable, you become unforgettable. Let his mind circle endlessly, trying to resurrect what he buried. Let his dreams torment him until he sees his own reflection in your absence. You are not his lesson, you are the consequence. In the quiet hours before dawn, he wakes breathless. Her name trembles at the edge of his memory, fading like smoke through his fingers. The dream dissolves, but the ache remains, that dull, persistent awareness that something within him has been severed. He does not know that what he longs for is not her body, but the reflection of his lost integrity. When he betrayed her, he betrayed himself. When he lied to her, he fractured his own psyche. The anima he rejected now stands before him in the form of a recurring vision, a woman who looks at him with knowing eyes and says nothing. This is the architecture of punishment in the unconscious. The dream does not torment to hurt, but to reveal. Yet the male ego resists revelation like flesh resists flame. He believes he can escape memory through conquest, new women, new distractions, new noise. But the psyche cannot be silenced with novelty. It demands truth. Each new face only amplifies the absence. Every attempt to replace her becomes an act of repetition, a ritual of denial. The masculine shadow cannot endure powerlessness. Betrayal was his attempt to reverse the roles, to make her bleed first so he would not have to feel his own wound. But power gained through destruction is temporary. It decays into self-contempt. The man who betrays does not escape the feminine. He becomes haunted by it. The more he tries to forget, the deeper she embeds herself into his dreams, his impulses, his choices. And she, the woman once betrayed, no longer needs his remorse. Her silence is not an absence of feeling, it is the crystallization of self-knowledge. She has seen the truth of him, and seeing is enough. That clarity is irreversible. She no longer fantasizes about his redemption. Redemption is a language for those still clinging to the illusion of control. She does not want him to suffer. His suffering is inevitable. She simply withdraws, not to teach him, not to heal, but because energy once wasted on illusion now belongs to her own ascent. There is a particular stillness that descends upon a woman who has faced betrayal and refused to break. It is not peace, it is precision. Her eyes no longer search for explanations. Her words become fewer, sharper, her movements deliberate. The witch archetype breathes in her silence. She sees patterns, not people, symbols, not excuses. She no longer asks why he did it, she already knows. Betrayal is not about her worth. It is about his fear. The act was not rejection of her. It was rejection of intimacy itself. In her stillness, she becomes a mirror, but no longer one that flatters. She reflects only truth, and truth burns. He cannot meet her gaze now without feeling exposed. That is why he dreams, because the waking world no longer grants him access to her presence. The dream realm is his only visitation right. There, in the half-light of his subconscious, he sees her as she truly was, not the woman he controlled, but the one he could never conquer. This is the spiritual inversion of betrayal. The betrayer becomes the haunted, the betrayed becomes the sovereign. Jung called this individuation, the process by which the psyche reclaims its fragmented parts. Her pain carved out space for transformation. His deceit condemned him to stagnation. She moves forward, stripped of illusion. He circles backward, bound to the echo of what he destroyed. You, listening, know this pattern. You have seen the messages that arrive too late, the apologies crafted from guilt, not growth. He wants absolution without awareness. He wants you to hold the mirror again, to restore his image. Do not grant it. There is no virtue in reviving the man who thrives on reflection but fears depth. His return is not romance. It is regression. Withdraw further. Let his silence meet your silence. Two voids facing each other, but only one of them at peace. Do not try to prove you are over him. Power does not announce itself, it radiates. You have become the archetype he will chase in every woman but never find. The witch is not vengeful, she is inevitable. The siren does not lure, she reveals desire's futility. The queen does not forgive, she forgets. He will feel it each time he looks into another's eyes, that flicker of recognition followed by emptiness. That is the echo of your silence. That is the ghost of his own shadow staring back. In that moment, he will understand that the woman he betrayed was never merely human. She was initiation. So let him dream. Let his nights be filled with fragments of your voice, your absence, your indifference. Let him reach out to 1,000 substitutes and find nothing but hollow reflections. Let him realize too late that you were the one doorway to his own wholeness, and he closed it with his own hand. Do not look back. There comes a point when the haunting becomes unbearable. He feels it first in silence, not hers but his own. The noise of the world grows distant. Laughter feels artificial. Pleasure mechanical. The women who once validated his worth now only echo the absence. Their eyes do not mirror him the way hers once did. They do not know the man beneath the armor, and he cannot show them. Because to reveal himself again would require vulnerability, the very thing he betrayed. This is the punishment of the unconscious. It does not rage. It withholds. What he loses is not affection, but meaning. He walks among people, but feels like a ghost wearing human skin. Every face reminds him that he once had something real and chose illusion instead. He believed betrayal was freedom, but it was exile. Now he is a man in exile from his own soul. He dreams again, but the dreams have changed. No longer tender, no longer seductive. She appears distant, veiled and calm. Her eyes are not filled with pain anymore, only knowing. She watches him, not with hate, but with recognition, the way death looks at a man who already knows his fate. He calls her name, but the sound fades. He wakes trembling because even in sleep, she will not return. The psyche is cruel only to the degree that the lesson was ignored. Betrayal creates a psychic debt, and every dream is a collection notice. He cannot undo it. He can only confront what it reveals, that his ego was built on illusion, and illusion can no longer protect him. He must face his shadow. He must look into the dark feminine within himself, the anima he wounded, and accept that she will never again belong to him. Meanwhile, she walks untouched by his chaos. Her silence is no longer defensive, it is sacred. There is a difference between not speaking and no longer needing to speak. She exists beyond reaction now. Every time he imagines her, she grows stronger in his mind, more distant, more untouchable, more myth than memory. He does not realize that this is what happens when a woman steps fully into her dark feminine power. She becomes not an ex-lover, but an archetype. And archetypes cannot be possessed. In Jungian terms, she has integrated her shadow. The part of her that once sought approval has died. The part that feared abandonment has transformed into sovereignty. The compulsion to explain herself is gone, replaced by a silence that radiates command. Her absence is not emptiness, it is presence refined to its purest form. It unsettles him because it reveals the truth: she was never small. He only mistook her softness for weakness, because he could not fathom a strength that does not need to dominate. You, listening, understand this stage. It is not peace in the gentle sense. It is the stillness that comes after destruction. You no longer ache, you observe. You no longer question, you know. The dark feminine does not heal to be kind, she heals to be complete. And completeness has no room for explanation. The man who betrayed you was not the villain, he was the instrument. His deception cut away your naivety, stripped you of illusion, and left behind only essence. Pain was the furnace. Now you are tempered steel. He senses this transformation, though he cannot name it. It radiates through your silence, through your detachment. It unsettles him because it mirrors his own failure to evolve. He is trapped in repetition, You have become evolution itself. This is why men return when it is already too late. They do not want you. They want redemption through your forgiveness. But forgiveness would shatter the spell. It would rebind you to a frequency beneath your new self. And so the only answer is none. Let your indifference speak. Let him wander in his dreams, reaching for a ghost that will never answer. Let him realize that what he misses was not the comfort of your love, but the reflection of his potential in your presence. He betrayed that reflection, and the universe took it away. You are no longer the mirror. You are the void where his reflection once stood. And in that void, you have become infinite. So when he dreams of you again, when he wakes in the dark, remembering the way your eyes once looked through him, let him. He earned the silence. He earned the distance. He earned the haunting. Because every dream of the woman he betrayed is a summons from the soul, a reminder that he abandoned the divine within himself. And you are no longer waiting to be remembered. You are the memory itself. Unreachable, unforgiving, eternal. There comes a point when the haunting turns from dream to reckoning. He no longer dreams of her as a woman. She becomes atmosphere. A scent that lingers on a stranger's skin. A glance that cuts through noise. A feeling of being watched by his own conscience. The unconscious is merciless when ignored. It resurrects what was buried until the man either integrates or collapses. He can no longer run from what he destroyed. Because the feminine he betrayed was not her, it was the doorway to himself. He begins to see the patterns. Every relationship ends the same way. Every promise dissolves. He calls it bad luck, but luck has nothing to do with it. He is meeting his own projection in every woman he touches. Each encounter is a mirror reflecting his unhealed wound. Until he faces the shadow of what he did, he will live. In repetition. And repetition is a slow form of damnation. The anima does not die when betrayed, she retreats. She descends into the unconscious, waiting for the man to mature enough to face her without fear. But most never do. They remain haunted, half alive, forever chasing the ghost of the woman who once carried their soul image. They call it nostalgia, but it is spiritual starvation. He cannot find her again, because she no longer exists in the same form. She has become something he cannot touch, transcendent, sovereign, untamed. Her silence is eternal now. Not a performance. Not revenge. It is law. The moment she chose to vanish, she aligned with something ancient, the power of detachment that built empires and destroyed kings. She no longer lives in stories written by others. She writes her own scripture through actionless presence. Every step she takes echoes with the weight of boundaries reforged in blood. This is the dark feminine ascended, the queen who does not plead, the witch who does not explain, the siren who does not sing. She is beyond duality. To those who seek her from the outside, she appears cold. But coldness is only warmth that no longer bleeds. Her love is not for the unprepared. It demands the death of illusion. Only a man who has faced his shadow and survived his own emptiness can stand before her without trembling. The rest will only dream. He will return one last time. Not with arrogance, but with quiet desperation. A message, a confession, an apology whispered too late. He believes he seeks closure, but closure is impossible. What he seeks is resurrection, and she does not resurrect what has already been purified by fire. She reads the message, perhaps, then deletes it. Not from anger, but from completion. Because when the lesson is learned, repetition is unnecessary. You, listening, must understand this final truth. Silence is not emptiness. It is the final form of mastery. It is the moment the wound no longer defines you, because you have become the one who created it and the one who transcended it. The man who betrayed you will carry your image into every dream, every regret, every futile attempt to recreate what he once destroyed. Let him. That is not cruelty, it is equilibrium. Tonight, do not think of him. Think of the woman who walked away without explaining. Think of the way her silence shifted the air. Think of the power it takes to vanish from a story that once demanded your suffering as proof of love. That is sovereignty. That is individuation. That is the dark feminine realized. You owe no closure. You owe no explanation. You owe no softness to those who mistook it for weakness. The woman who knows her worth does not argue, she vanishes.